So, I think it's about time that I review The Beatles Get Back. The Beatles Get Back. Now, The Beatles Get Back is a three-part documentary series directed by Peter Jackson and basically on the Beatles as they record their final released album, Let It Be, and also as they prepare for the rooftop recordings, which will be their last public appearance ever. And that's basically my interpretation of the plot of The Beatles Get Back. And just before I get into my thoughts and feelings on the documentary series, first of all, I'm going to give my thoughts and feelings on the Beatles as a whole. I love them. They're literally my all-time favourite band, as proven by my t-shirt I'm wearing today, and also proven by my Abbey Road poster up there. And also, I just absolutely love them. I really do. And I've been listening to the music for so long. I grew up listening to the music. I grew up watching their films. I grew up watching Help. I grew up watching Hard Day's Night. I grew up watching Yellow Submarine. I grew up watching the original Let It Be documentary, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I did kind of enjoy when I watched it. And also, I grew up listening to the music. I remember when I was 5 years old and listened to Hello Goodbye for the first time and just absolutely loving it. I remember just listening to music from them over and over again and getting Sgt. Pepper suits when I was a kid for one Christmas. And I absolutely love the music, I really do. And even in the past couple of years, when sometimes I'll go off the music for like a little bit and I'll listen to the Rolling Stones a bit. And by the way, the Beatles are definitely better than the Rolling Stones. Miles better. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the Rolling Stones, I do. I think they've got some great music. But the Beatles are undoubtedly better, they just are. But anyway, basically, over the past couple of years, sometimes I'll go off the Beatles music just for like a little bit, for like a month or two. But then, I'll always return to their music. I'll end up listening to like one song thinking, actually, you know what, that's a fantastic song. Then I end up listening to the full album. Then I end up listening to like 2 albums, 3 albums, 4 albums, and then before you know it, I'm listening to the Beatles all over again, and I just absolutely love the music. I really do. I grew up listening to music so much, and I've been so excited about this documentary, because I loved the last Beatles documentary, One House documentary, The Beatles, the touring years 1962 to 1966. I thought that was great, and naturally, that got me even more excited to see what the Beatles did next, in terms, documentary-wise. And then I heard that Peter Jackson, who appeared in the Lord of the Rings films, the Hobbit films, and the King Kong remake from 2005, I heard that he was attached to this project, and naturally, that got me more excited. Honestly, I've loved Peter Jackson films in the past, and I couldn't wait to see what I did with this documentary. And then it was postponed because of the pandemic last year, because this film was actually meant to come out on the 50th anniversary of the release of Let It Be. And then, obviously, it didn't, because last year there was a lot of complications due to the pandemic. So now it's finally out. It's finally here. And honestly, I was so excited to sit down and watch it. And I finally got a chance early on this week, because it's a long documentary. I finally got a chance over last week to watch a full documentary over a couple of days. And honestly, I just absolutely love it. I love it. I think it's incredible. I think it's magnificent, and I just think that Peter Jackson has made an absolute masterpiece with this documentary. I really do. I think it's so amazing, because the amazing thing about this documentary is that Peter Jackson has managed to string a narrative together over all 3 parts of the documentary, because there wasn't a narrative when the Beatles sat down to record Let It Be. There wasn't a narrative, and yet somehow Peter Jackson found a narrative and strung it over all 3 parts of the documentary, and it's fantastic. You get this whole stuff, George leading the band, the argument between Paul, Ringo, John and George, you get all that going on, and then at the same time though, you get them preparing for this public appearance, but then it's not a public appearance, then it's going to be like some concert somewhere else, and then they're preparing for the rooftop sessions, but they're not even sure they're going to do the rooftop sessions until like half an hour before they actually go out and do the rooftop recording. And then you just see them preparing and mucking about and jamming to all this music, which has become so iconic, like songs like Get Back, Don't Let Me Down, Dig a Pony, and so on. You just see them jamming and having fun, and it's just so great. It really is. I love moments like in the first part where Paul McCartney is struggling to come up with a song and things like that, and then he comes back the day after and he comes up with the riff for Get Back, one of my all-time favourite songs. He comes up with the riff for Get Back, and I literally just sit down and go, how? He is a musical genius. How do you do that? And just seeing the Beatles jam together and just have fun with one another and muck about, and seeing John on drugs, because I'm assuming John was on drugs at this point. I don't know, but I'm assuming it from the documentary, because he gets quite excited at the moments of the documentary. I'm assuming he is on drugs, because he's having quite a lot of fun in the second part in particular. But yes, just seeing them all have so much fun is just It's great, it really is. Because the thing is though, when Let It Be came out all the way back in like 1970, when the Beatles were breaking up, basically there was a lot of press around going, Let It Be was the reason the Beatles broke up, and the recording sessions of Let It Be were terrible. But then actually you watch the documentary, and yes, there's arguments, and yes, they have their down moments, but it's not a terminus period for the Beatles. They're having a lot of fun, and actually, that's what made me smile. It pulled on my heartstrings in the best way possible. It made me smile, it made me laugh, and it almost made me cry, and just in the best way possible. Honestly, I love it, and I finished it last night, and finishing the documentary, as much as I loved watching it, I really, really did, but finishing the documentary, I felt like I'd accomplished something. I felt like I'd accomplished something watching this documentary, but at the same time, though, I felt like I want to go and do that accomplishment again, all over again. I want to go back and rewatch this documentary time and time again. I love that it exists. I just love the fact that, there's like 60 hours of footage, which Peter Jackson compressed into 6 hours in this documentary, and it's brilliant. I love that it exists. I just absolutely adore it. And yes, I can clearly see why non-Beatles fans wouldn't like this documentary. But at the same time, no, if you're a non-Beatles fan, I'd ask the question, why are you watching this documentary in the first place? That would be my first question to a non-Beatles fan who's actually seen the documentary. But yes, I can clearly see why non-Beatles fans wouldn't enjoy this documentary. And also, each part is long. And for some people, that won't work for them. But for me, that did work for me. Peter Jackson typically makes long films. Look at Lord of the Rings films. I watch extended cuts every single Christmas of the Lord of the Rings films. And the extended cuts are like 4 hours long. Same with the Hobbit films. And I've seen a 4-hour cut of his King Kong remake as well. And also, he just makes long films. And so, when I sat down to watch the Beatles Get Back, I was like, oh, each part's quite long. But then I realised, that's Peter Jackson. And actually, he knocks out of the park again. I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I even love the Hobbit trilogy. That might be a controversial opinion, but I love the Hobbit trilogy. And also, I love his King Kong remake from 2005. And I love his Get Back documentary. I love his Get Back documentary series. I just adore it so much. Each time I sat down to watch it, I just got so excited. I watched it in parts because it is long, and I don't always have, that much free time at the moment. But every single time I sat down to watch the documentary, I loved it. I really did. And just seeing this fantastic music it made, and just seeing songs like I Got a Feeling by the Beatles, not by the Black Eyed Peas. I've Got a Feeling by the Black Eyed Peas is awful. It's an awful song, but I've Got a Feeling by the Beatles, great song. And just seeing songs like that, I Dig a Pony, Don't Let Me Down, and just so many other songs that they hadn't actually probably recorded yet, like Maxwell Silver Hammer and Old Darling, which will later go into the Abbey Road album. Just seeing those songs constructed is incredible. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating documentary because it's literally just one big insight into the creation of one of my all-time favourite albums, or one of the greatest albums in musical history, in my opinion, Let It Be. It's a fascinating insight into the creation, into the recording of the Beatles music past 1966. I don't reckon it was like this when they were touring, but then when they did Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and the music got a bit more experimental, I imagine this is what the recording sessions were like, and it's really incredible watching this witty Paul and watching George, play along with everything, watching John go a bit crazy some parts, particularly in the second part of the documentary, and then watching Ringo almost fall asleep playing the drums. It's just great. It really is, and I love in the first part where Paul McCartney becomes a Get Back. I love that. I love seeing John and Paul jam together. And I love the moment where George leaves. It's quite a heartbreaking moment. They get Isn't It a Pity by George Harrison playing in the background at the end of the first part. But then I love in the second part where Billy Preston comes back in. And I love when George comes back in. And by the way, that's not a spoiler. It's heavily publicised that George left the Beatles for a while. It's also heavily publicised when they were doing the White Album that Ringo left for a while. So that's not a spoiler, by the way. It's really a thing you could do a spoiler for this documentary. But yes, I just love it in the second part where Billy Preston comes in, George Harrison comes back, and all these other moments you see George Martin about, recording and working with them, things like that. You see Glenn Johnson doing a bit of temp tracking with them and 8-bit tracking. I love things like that in this documentary so much. And I just love that it's long and you can just indulge yourself in it as well. I love the length of each episode. I love the length of each part of the documentary so much because you can just indulge yourself into it, and you just immerse yourself into the recordings of the Beatles sessions for Let It Be for about 2 hours, or sometimes 2 hours and a half, and even the second part, almost 3 hours, and just in the best way possible. I love it so much. I really do. And I just want to go back and rewatch it time and time again. I think Peter Jackson made a masterpiece. He knocked it out of the park with his second documentary feature. I should say documentary series, because this is the end, a documentary series. But yes, he has done a documentary before, and They Shall Not Grow Old. I'm pretty sure that came out in 2018, which is a documentary about World War I soldiers, which was colourised. And I like that. I want to go back and watch it again, I must admit. But I did like when I watched it. But the thing is, though, with this documentary, there's just something about it which just makes it so fascinating. And it's it's an incredible piece of filmmaking as well, because in the end, it's a documentary of the making of the Let It Be album. That's essentially what it is in the end. But actually, it's great. It really is. And it's this fantastic piece of filmmaking because you get little moments where, like, Linda will be taking a photograph of Paul and Ringo just, doing a bit of jamming. And then the photograph actually comes out in photograph form in the documentary. And then you see, like, moments in the past when they first, John being in a film. And you see, like, little moment where John is in a film. And then you see, like, little moments where, like, the Beatles are doing Help. And you've got little moments like that in the documentary just make it so much more fantastic. And also just moments in between each day where, like, Peter Jackson will literally go, okay, that was the 17th. And now going into the 18th. And then that was the 18th. Now going into the 19th, and you watch the documentary, you know what I mean there, you literally a calendar points, and it makes you realise how much effort was put into the Let It Be album, and it also makes you realise how much effort was actually put into the documentary series as a whole. Honestly, I just applaud Peter Jackson so much for doing this. He sat through, 6 hours of footage, probably about 5 times to really get his head around it, to really find a narrative in there, and he did. He found a narrative in there, and it's such a compelling narrative. It's so fantastic, it's just so mesmerising and amazing, and just so wonderful to watch. And one thing I almost forgot to mention, and I would be remorse if I did forget to mention it, but one thing I almost forgot to mention is when you see the Beatles doing their rooftop recordings, and when you see them doing their final public appearance, you just want to leap with joy. It's like the Live Aid part of Bohemian Rhapsody. Honestly, when I watched the Live Aid section of Bohemian Rhapsody in the cinema for the first time, I literally just wanted to stand up in the cinema, just applaud and go along and sing along with Queen. And the same happened here. The thing is, though, this isn't fictional, it isn't a biopic. And actually, when you get through our sessions, you just want to laugh and smile with the Beatles, and you just want to sing along with their songs and dance to their songs. It's all in the best way possible. And I know that might sound cringy, but at the same time, no, that's the way you want to feel about this documentary. That's the way you really want to feel about this documentary. And I did. I just loved it so much. And I also love the fact that the last Beatles documentary, Dies by One Heart, the Beatles of touring years 1962 to 1966, was very different than this. That documentary has quite a lot of talking heads in there, quite a lot of archival footage, which spans over like 4 years, and has quite a lot of, conventional documentary elements in there, but I still think it works really well. But the thing is, though, this documentary is very different. It doesn't have that voiceover narration, which you might get in, the Amy Winehouse documentary, Dies by Asphyxia. It doesn't have that voiceover narration that you might get in the Amy Winehouse documentary. It doesn't have those moments of talking head interviews, which you might get in the One Howard Beale documentary. No, in the end, it's so real, and you feel like you're watching this period in 1969 when the Beatles were recording Let It Be, and just in the best way possible. It feels so realistic, and it's so great to watch. And I don't know how Peter Jackson did it, but he made this such a compelling and fascinating documentary, and all in the best way possible. Honestly, I adore it. I adore it more than the One Howard Beatles documentary, and I really like that, by the way. I just want to emphasise that. I really like that documentary, The Beatles touring years 1962 to 1966. I think that's a great documentary, but here, I don't know, I sat there and I indulged myself into all of this. I just love seeing the Beatles recording and jamming together. And just even these moments when they have their argument, it makes those joyous moments when they play their songs like Dig a Pony, I've Got a Feeling, Let It Be, Get Back, and so on and so on and so on, so much more joyful. It really does. And I absolutely adore it. I really do. I love it so much. It's mesmerising, it's fascinating, it's compelling, it's amazing, and it's just absolutely wonderful. And that is why I absolutely love The Beatles Get Back, and that's also why I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Honestly, I do. I love it so much that I'm going to give it that rating. That's how high I regard this documentary series. And even so it's not a film, I must admit, it might turn out to be one of my favourite films of the year come the end of this year. I'm not joking. It might turn out to be one of my favourite films of the year because I love it. I really do. And in the end, by the way, it's one gigantic film split into 3 parts. And actually, it's the same length as all 3 Lord of the Rings theatrical cuts and all 3 Hobbit theatrical cuts put together. It's about 6 hours, and you know what? I love that. I love the length. I know that might be one of people's criticisms, but I love it. I love the length of this documentary. I love little moments of insights. I even love seeing like Yoko and John there together, and Paul and Linda. Just moments like that make it so much more realistic and so much more, I don't know, compelling and fascinating to watch. Just seeing their wives there in the recording sessions, and even seeing Paul's daughter on stage. You see Heather McCartney come in and do messing about with all the other Beatles when they're trying to record songs on the Let It Be album, and that's just so great. And another thing I absolutely love in the third part is after they've done the rooftop sessions, they go down and they listen to the recordings from the rooftop, and they're all just jamming, and they're all just really, really enjoying themselves. You see Ringo's first wife, bobbing her head there. You see Ringo have the time of his life into the recording. You see Paul and Linda just grooving about. You see John really, really enjoying the music. You just see George having so much fun, and just moments like that make it great. I love it so much. I really do. I just think it's fascinating, and I just think it's amazing, and I just think it's mesmerising. And like I said before, when I finished the documentary, I felt like I accomplished something that I just wanted to do for so long. A really special accomplishment. But you know what? I want to go and watch the documentary all over again. I really do. I love it that much. I love it. 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 It's great. It really is. And I'm even getting a bit emotional talking about it now. I love it that much. Because in the end, it almost made me cry. It really did. I'm going to be honest there. I almost teared up. It's really heartbreaking to moments. But it pulls on your heartstrings in the best way possible. Because it's also joyful. You want to laugh and smile along with it. And just in the best way possible. It's incredible in my opinion. It's magnificent. And I absolutely adore it. I really do. It's amazing in my opinion. It really is. And I absolutely love it. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that the Beatles Get Back. I'm going to say that it's a 9.5 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, what do you think of the Beatles Get Back? Please do comment down below and know your thoughts in the comment section below. Anyway guys, thank you as always for watching, and if you haven't yet, please do click down below and subscribe on this video, and look forward to many more both film and TV views come very soon on this channel. See you guys again soon, but bye for now, bye!